Hi friends, it's Chris, and for this video, we're going to talk about my favorite art supplies. Now, I do a lot of different medias such as gouache, watercolor, colored pencils, and I do also some journaling every now and then. I'm sharing the supplies that I keep going back to or supplies that I'm really loving as of this moment. Now, I've been doing arts for give or take 3 years now, and some of these mediums are used more than others, and some of these mediums have been with me for a longer period as compared to the others. But these art supplies are just those art supplies that encourage me to, work and create as much as I can. So with that being said, let's go to the table and see what are the art supplies that I am loving. So I did mention that the first of the different arts that I do is journaling, and my favorite journal right now for this year has to be this one from Limelight. It was something that I bought for myself last December. Right now there's no blank pages as of now, and I enjoy writing my reflections for the day, some ideas, some mementos for that day, and I like this tiny simple questions that are being asked every now and then at the top part of each page, which adds to the reflective aspect of journals. And I love this. I've filled up every day since, and also the days leading up to 2022, which I really love. By the way, the stickers that I placed here, I bought them from Shopee from various artists, and I would link them down below if in case I find them again. I'll try to look for them. Okay, so the pens I usually write with are the Scribbler fine liners. These are just affordable fine liners that I got off SM department store. I think this entire set cost me not more than 300 pesos. Yeah, not more than 300 pesos. So that's like $6 for 12 colored pens. I use the black the most, but I interject some of the colors every now and then. Then there's this one, the combination of the Borealis Black from Noodlers and this fountain pen that I got from Sunlit. It's from China, and it's pretty affordable, but it gets the job done. Nothing special about the nib. In fact, the nib is pretty hard, but it writes well, and I enjoy signing my my journal with this one. And the Borealis Black ink is an interesting deep gray green color on my paper, but sadly it's not the most waterproof. There is some feathering that comes with it when I use it for my drawing, so instead of using this one for my sketches, I now use this just for writing and my journaling. Let's talk about now the surfaces that I use when I work with dry media. In here you have my Peter Popper sketchbook. I love this one, as you've seen already a flip through of this one. It's a nice paper. It did turn yellow, but it's okay. It feels great, and it's where I write down my ideas or draw my inspiration for the moment, and it's just a place wherein I could make mistakes and do experiments without feeling guilty about it. And then the next one are actually, the next one is actually this huge stack of Works cartridge paper. It's a 200 GSM specialty paper where I print my coloring pages. I love using this paper because it takes a lot of the various mediums that I use, including colored pencils as well as water-soluble pencils, as long as I use just a small amount of water. And it also takes gouache and water-soluble markers as well. So I use this one for that. And these are the pieces that I love. As you can see, no bleed through for this one, and I use a lot of the markers and colored pencils. Lastly, if I'm working with some quote-unquote finished pieces, but I don't plan to sell them, I use my Canson tints. I've used up a lot of the trial packs already, the ones that are being sold for 5 pieces per pack. This one is an entire pad of it, which I could use my colored pencils and pastels on. As for the drawing pencils and colored pencils that I use, here are those things that I'm loving as of the moment. Of course, if I'm working with large pieces, I cannot not use pan pastels. Like, if I'm working in something that's around 8 by 11 and bigger, there's no way I would use colored pencils all throughout. I need to have a base layer, and pan pastels provide that good base layer. And one way for you to make pan pastels work well with your colored pencils is that if you dissolve your layer of pan pastels with your odorless mineral spirits. Speaking of which, this combination is Bay, a affordable Taklon bristle brush that's slightly stiff but also still has some softness to it, along with your odorless mineral spirit. This one is from Pibeo. Works really well with melting and blending your pan pastels, your colored pencils, and even your ink tints and museum aquarels. This one gets the job done without damaging your paper, and when it dries, it doesn't leave behind a residue on your paper, which is great. There are pencils that I use often, and I'm not really particular with the pencils that I use. In fact, I just buy things that are recommended, but I honestly don't feel the difference. But as of now, these are the pencils that I'm using. A few from Faber-Castell 9000 collection. They work well. They work okay. And there's this Caran d'Ache Graphwood, which is a 6B, very dark. But honestly speaking, I could not tell you the difference between this one and a Mongol pencil, aside from now the different stiffness that it has. One very special tool that I have when I'm working with graphite drawings though are these two mediums, a graphite stick and another graphite pencil stick. I like using them for my backgrounds, and sometimes I just work with these two pencils on their own, just making expressive marks on the paper and then filling it out with the tip of this soft graphite pencil, and then I just blend with my finger. These things are mostly done on sketchbooks or scrap paper, so I'm not worried if these things are light fast, but they get the job done. They get me creating, and I'm happy working with them. In fact, I feel inspired to use them later on after filming this video to draw something. Okay, so speaking of pencils, you need some erasers, and two of my favorite erasers are, you have here now the Kneadable Erasers. These ones are an amalgamation, a cluster of, I think these include Faber-Castell and the Prisma Premier Kneadable Eraser. I just mashed them together, and here it is. I just keep it in a plastic case so that they won't get dusty quickly. But yeah, I like using it to pull up on the papers and use this one in order to remove some details, to correct details, or to lighten pencil marks that I've made. But to completely erase pencil marks and leave around highlights, I love using an electric eraser. This one is a Benguet brand. It's not really that high-end, but it gets the job done. And then if there's one thing that you could buy from all of these things that I'm sharing, I highly recommend, if you work with colored pencils, if you work with graphite, if you work with different pencil mediums, please get the Stabilo exam grade pencil sharpener. Like, from your skinny Brotfuner pencils, it can fit them, and it can fit up to your Caran d'Ache, your luminances, your polychromos, even as big as your Derwent drawing pencils. It just leaves behind a beautiful point that's not too long that it snaps, but it's still sharp that you can get details. So again, if you're planning to get a sharpener, don't invest too much, just buy this sharpener from Stabilo. And trust me, I bet my entire name into it, you will not regret buying this sharpener. As for pencil cases and colored pencils, it's clumped together here in this small pencil case. This pencil case is one that you can buy off Amazon or Shopee or Lazada. It's just a simple book type of pencil case for your colored pencils, and it can accommodate as much as 72 colored pencils on the individual slots, plus a small mesh compartment, which I am showing you right now. Spoiler alert for the pencils. Okay, so it has these pouches for other mediums that you want to bring along, and you have here now a slot for 72 pencils or other art supplies that you plan to bring along with you. So when it comes to colored pencils, my favorites still are the Faber-Castell Polychromos, and I've tried the creme de la creme of the Derwent Lightfast and the Caran d'Ache Luminance. Those two brands are extremely amazing pencils. These are on par with them, but at the same time, I don't feel that precious about them that it inhibits me from working on art pieces, and that's more of a me problem than the other two pencils. But with these ones, I don't feel as precious with them. I can use them as my workhorse. I don't feel guilty with using these Polychromos pencils as compared to when I use the Derwent Lightfast for my coloring pages. With these ones, I'm okay to use them on my coloring books and just simple sketches. But if I use the other two expensive brands, I feel a bit guilty. And I don't know if anybody else feels that way when it comes to using your colored pencils, but yeah, I enjoy using these ones as my go-to for my creating art. Let's talk about now wet mediums. These ones now require water in order for you to use them. Particularly, these are paints. I am not yet hooked on using acrylic and oils. I still haven't figured them out yet, and to be completely honest, I still feel intimidated with using oils and acrylics. But paints on paper, I'm good with. So first off, you have here now a collapsible bucket. I just got this one off Shopee. It's fairly affordable and it holds a lot of water. I use this when I go out with my friends to have my art dates with them, just so that they have a bucket to use for the paints if I'm not bringing water brushes. For surfaces, when I'm just sketching or I just want to practice, I have my Tokyo Finds watercolor journal. This, I think I filled up 3 or 4 of this already, and as of now I use this one for my sketches, as you could see, and then some swatches of my art supplies. I love using this one. It just does. It's an art supply that I don't feel guilty about, that I don't feel like I'm wasting a lot of it. It's just something that I could use to express myself and to test out art supplies and just to make mistakes without feeling bad about it. For final or pieces that I would be hanging on my walls or giving to my friends, I know that this is not the most archival paper, but I've been enjoying this lately, and in fact I'm almost out of this one. This is a 20 sheet one, and I've gone through one already, and I only have a few pieces of watercolor papers left here. This is the Polaroo 50% rough watercolor paper. It's in 300 GSM, so it's fairly thick, and the surface is really beautiful. It handles water and the paint very similar now to 100% cotton, but it again doesn't give me that guilty feeling. Like yeah, the texture is pretty interesting as well. It's organic, yet it's patterned. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah, that paper doesn't make me feel guilty of using it, and it's inspiring me to do my paintings. So there's this palette that I like using. Lately I've been into squeezing watercolors and gouache straight from the tube rather than reactivating them in pans. I think it's just a preference phase. Maybe tomorrow or a few months from now that will change. I'll be once again high on using poured paints that's dried in palettes. But for now, I love using paints fresh off the tube, and I use this palette. Very convenient, very handy, very simple, and very affordable. The Derwent ink pens, yeah, I love them. I love them. Very simple, very easy, good happy in between from the dry media and the wet media. I have here now my 24 set, the cover made by Lockery Fine Art. She's an awesome teacher. These are the colors, well loved. Let's talk about Gouache first, and this is the Mizello White Class white paint. It's matte and it transforms these other Mission White Class paints into matte gouache, and it's amazing. And the concept for the Mission White from Mizello is actually pretty genius because it's a hybrid of watercolors and gouache, and with just using the matte white, it transforms the watercolors into gouache. And I love it. Some of my favorite gouache from the Mizello Mission White includes your Burnt Sienna, Crimson Lake, Permanent Yellow Deep, and Ultramarine Deep. These colors are amazing, and I think, yeah, this 4 colors plus Viridian. I forgot to pull out Viridian from my Mission White class, but those 5 colors along with the matte white is my perfect starter colors. As for the watercolor paints, I love using the Mizello Mission Gold because these paints are very accessible to where I live. They're available in Art Bar for an affordable price. As you can see, I'm nearing the end of a few of those tubes, and these are 5 of my favorite Mizello Mission Gold watercolors. You have here now the Rose Madder, Rubin, which is my second tube, Indanthrone Blue, which I use alternatively with Mizello Blue. Those are my favorites, so I'm not yet that down with Mizello Blue. I mean with Indanthrone Blue, but I am almost out of my Mizello Blue. You have here, hanging on by a thread, Permanent Yellow Deep. I love this color. It's a color that is a revelation actually, because I used to write it off, and now it's something that is constant. It has to be there when I have my palette set up. Same is true with Viridian. I used to not like greens because of being influenced by Kellogg's Loops beforehand. He doesn't like green, and now so I did away also with any green watercolors, but Viridian made of PG6, that's phthalo green for other brands. It's pretty good to have. It's pretty cool because it makes a lot of deeper colors when you mix it with some of the blues and reds. As for specialty paints from Daniel Smith, they're pretty luxurious. I only have a few of them, and these 2 are my favorites. You have here now the Aussie Red Gold, which is a teeny tiny tube. I use this as an alternative to my Nickel Azo Yellow because it's more it has more character in my opinion than Nickel Azo Yellow, and it's warmer, yet at the same time I could still use this one for a variety of skin tones. And just for the interest of it, I love me this Lunar Black by Daniel Smith. Just adding it to any color makes it very interesting, very moody, very dark, very gray. And the granulation patterns that you can get is absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, those are my favorite art supplies. What about yours? What are the art supplies that inspires you to create? Let me know in the comment sections, and please do subscribe to the channel. I know it's the cringiest thing to say after each video, and believe me, as a up-and-coming channel, it just feels off right now to say, but if I want to keep the logistics up, I got to encourage my viewers to subscribe. But anyway, I hope you enjoy the content. I hope that you keep creating art, enjoy your day, your week, your month, your year, and of course, I wish you love and peace.